I've made tons of mistakes and learned so many lessons after editing and publishing over 1,000 YouTube videos for my clients and myself. So here are 18 of my most valuable takeaways that I've learned along the way for YouTube editing. The first mistake is easy to make and easy to fix. And it's not checking your export before you upload the video. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a video on YouTube with audio issues or glitches, even in the first 30 seconds from massive creators. So by checking and just watching your export before you upload, you can catch so many of these mistakes. And I'm gonna share a personal story that I'm kind of embarrassed of, but here we go anyway. I made this video for one of our very first clients. The audio only comes out on one side of the speaker, and we had to have someone in the comments point it out to us. How embarrassing. Trust that I've never made that mistake again, because sometimes when you export from Premiere or any other software, things happen. So the second lesson is to always tie the intro of your video to your thumbnail. If you don't know this already, you should create your packaging and your thumbnail before you even film the video. So it should already be there when you start filming. An easy way to do this is simply by stating your thumbnail text or your title text in the first few seconds of your video, just like I did here. By doing this, you are validating the click from a viewer that, in fact, you are going to deliver on the thing that you promised in your packaging. And if you have certain imagery in your thumbnail, make sure to put that into the first few seconds of your video also. Like if you say you're going to ride the world's tallest surfboard, you better have the surfboard up somewhere in your first few seconds. Editing lesson number 3, which is the intro of your video, needs more attention than the rest of your video. This might be a little bit controversial, but here's why I say this. First of all, YouTube doesn't count a view unless someone's watched for at least 30 seconds. Also, you've probably seen this before, but people can watch the first part of your video without audio just from the preview alone. So this is essentially your trailer. And you want to make it engaging enough to where they either want to click or keep watching past that 30 seconds and then into the rest of the video, because the beginning of your video is when the most people drop off. I'll talk about sound effects and visuals a little bit later, but essentially this is where you want to put in music. You want to do more engaging cuts. Maybe you want to show a clip of something you're going to cover later in the video. Using sound effects for emphasis. We're going to talk about different types of sound effects later also. But if you do this, I promise your retention is going to increase, because in the end, what matters on YouTube is retention. It doesn't matter how good your thumbnail is. If people don't stay, doesn't matter. So the fourth editing lesson is that you don't have to have overly complicated editing or a high level video in order for it to be good and for it to perform. So if you're trying to master Premiere and like be the best editor ever, you can relax a little bit, because you may not need it. If you look at what goes viral, it's often not because they have the best editing, right? It's because of you, the story that you're telling, the value that you're giving your viewer. For example, Uncle John and Clear Value Tax have very simple editing, if not minimal editing, and they have tons of views and millions of subscribers. The fifth editing lesson is that editing is not a formula. And all the best practices and the learnings that I'm even sharing today, these are guidelines and never hard and fast, rigid rules. Edit based on how the video feels, how you want the viewer to feel, and how it best fits the format of your video. Speaking of, the next video is going to be all about the best performing video format. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. I do want to talk about some common editing formula and best practices that aren't necessarily for everyone. The first is really fast cuts. Some videos are meant to be relaxing and doesn't need to be super fast. I just happen to talk really fast, so if you need, you can turn down the speed on YouTube. And the other thing is like forcing jump cuts like this happening right now, even when there shouldn't be one. Jump cuts are supposed to be for emphasis. See how we just used it there? And every sentence does not need one. And the last thing is, you don't have to have an overly polished video for it to be good, because sometimes when you make it too polished and you remove the bits of you showing your personality, it just doesn't come off as authentic anymore. This is YouTube. They are subscribing and watching you for you. Okay, so the sixth editing lesson is kind of boring, but really, really important. It's poor file organization. If you don't properly organize your files, you're gonna get that Premiere missing file prompt way too often, and it could delay your editing by a week or even more, because you are out there searching for something that is really important. So every good editor knows that you need to label every file, put them in the right folder, and then put the right folders into the other bigger folders so that you know exactly where your files are. Lastly, please back up your projects. Things happen, okay? Technology fails us sometimes, and so does human error. For us, we have a structured folder system where we have our exports, we have our raw footage, we have our audio if there's any, we have graphics and B-roll for every single video. All right, the seventh video editing lesson is also pretty simple and easy to fix, which is if you have graphics or text on screen, please make sure that they are big enough so that someone could read all the text and understand the graphic on mobile. I know a lot more people in the US are looking at YouTube on TV, so this is not as big of an issue, but still the majority of the world use YouTube on mobile. So an easy way to fix this is if you have a small graphic with smaller text, just put it full screen or use a split screen. And make sure that you're viewing your video when it's really tiny, like how it would look on a phone before you export, and that way you can check that it's big enough. 8th lesson, misusing B-roll or the wrong type of B-roll. For a lot of talking head videos like this one, it is helpful to add in B-roll to switch it up. And the whole entire goal is so that you can show, don't tell, create engagement, but it can be easy to overdo it or underdo it. But it really depends on the type of video that you're making. So back to format. So if you're making a lifestyle video or like a vlog style video, it's best to always use footage of you actually doing the thing. But maybe you're telling the story as a talking head, so make sure to always overlay real footage in action. Remember what I mentioned about overusing like jump cuts or cutting? Another way to create fun engagement is by adding B-roll or clips from pop culture. Think movies, shows, or other YouTube videos for emphasis. And then I have to talk about stock footage because stock footage is not for every channel. Okay, so I work with a lot of B2C and B2B businesses and also creators, and we really only use stock footage for our more corporate type clients who need that type of polish. But if you're trying to reach everyday people, might as well just use footage from your real life. And also, even for one of our B2B clients, we've been opting for more real footage from their real projects instead of using footage online. My next thing about B-roll is that in retrospect, I've realized we've left our B-roll on for way too long. Like, try switching it up. So let's say there's about a 10-second clip in which you need to add B-roll for. Instead of just showing one clip, do 3 separate clips so it breaks it up every 3 seconds. Unless it's like a tutorial or something, or that video is on screen for a long time. Again, see, there's no hard and fast rules. These are all just lessons that you can apply to your specific videos. Lesson number 9, you don't always need to have music. So the reason I've personally preferred music even in talking head videos is that music and the beat naturally carry a video along, but that's not necessary. There are tons of examples of channels who've grown massively without having music. But again, this depends on your type of video. So if this is a lifestyle or a vlog, you do want music, and you may want to switch up the track every single time you switch to a new setting or a different part of your video. Remember what I said earlier about spending the most time editing your intro? So if you don't want music on the whole entire video because it's not appropriate for your video format, try having music just in the intro because you want to get your viewer past that first 30 seconds. And the thing you have to remember about having music is that the viewer should not inherently notice the music. They should be following the story, not thinking, oh, that song, because if they're thinking about the music, they're not listening to your words and not engaged in your video. And if you are gonna have music throughout your video, it should enhance the mood that you are already setting with your story and what your video is about. I talk really fast, so if there's gonna be music on this video, it needs to be quicker pace so that it matches me and it doesn't drag me down. If you normally talk slow, you can absolutely use music to drive the video and to help move it along, but you don't want it to be so mismatched where it feels like you're talking at one pace and the music is moving at one pace, because again, the viewer's gonna get distracted. And when you do use music, please don't make it louder than the audio. Again, you don't want the viewer to notice the music. And the complicated thing about music is even though we use copyright-free music in our videos, sometimes they still get flagged as a copyright, and then you have to deal with uploading your license and everything. So if your videos don't need music, don't have it. You're gonna save yourself some headache, and just pick a few tracks that you have the license for and just use them in the beginning. Because I don't wanna understate the value of having audio branding because it is important, but it's not everything like I used to believe. Whew, okay, so this next one is super, super important. Be inspired, but don't just copy others. I've said this about thumbnails, on titles, but this also applies to editing. Do you remember the time where every creator was trying to copy the Mr. Beast style? Where there's yelling in the beginning and then there's lots of fast cuts and it's all dramatic and you're like, ah! First of all, he spends millions of dollars on his videos, and quite frankly, you don't need to be like him to succeed. Because every single time I see a Mr. Beast style creator, I just think, oh, they're trying to be Mr. Beast. Instead, be inspired, but make it your own. You're here to grow your channel with your own videos, and people are gonna subscribe to you because of you. So for newer creators, I recommend starting with very simple editing and then add more as you create more videos. Because we all know growing on YouTube, YouTube is partially a numbers game. You need to get the reps in so you develop your style and you find it. If you have a very calm, relaxing yoga teacher type of voice and tone and pacing, that's part of your style. But if you're like me and you're really energetic and you talk kind of fast sometimes, then that's my style. And while you're experimenting, make sure that every single time you're making a video, it still feels like you. Don't overcomplicate it, okay? All right, lesson number 11. I've never heard anyone else talk about this, so here it goes. Editing is not a light load. Sometimes it can take hours upon hours and hours. So when I first started my agency, I edited every single video myself and I tracked all my hours. There was a video that I edited for 32 hours. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate. But the reason some of those videos took so long was because I didn't even want to be editing in the first place and I was in a bad mindset. And so things just took twice, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as long. When you're feeling calm and you have energy and you can be in a focused state, your editing goes so much smoother and so much faster. And your output is better. And when you're tired, you're gonna get lazy, you're gonna mislabel files, and then it's just gonna get messy. So I like to light a candle, play some meditation music in the background while I'm watching the footage and editing. And when I get tired and I need an eyeball break, I go take a break, I go on a walk. Okay, lesson number 12 is matching your editing style to the video format and who's going to be watching your video. Before you create a YouTube video, you need to know who that video is for. If you don't know that, you should figure it out. Because your audience and your video format that I've mentioned again and again influences the type of editing that you need to do. For example, this video, I'm sharing all my takeaways from editing over 1,000 videos, and I know it's gonna be a numbered list. So on screen, I'm gonna have the lesson and the number as I'm going through them, so you know what I'm talking about. But let's say I'm making personal finance content for beginners, right? Your pacing may need to be a bit slower because you are explaining concepts that are new to your beginner audience. And maybe when you're explaining something, you need to show some B-roll, right? Or a whiteboard drawing that you can do in PowerPoint. Like a goal of a video is that the viewer is receiving what you're putting out there. So I made a video on my channel on how to rank your videos on Google and YouTube, and that required minimal editing. You'll see that it's me and a screen share where I walk you through everything that I'm doing on screen. You can check that out here. But I didn't even need to be talking like this straight at camera because the format didn't require it. Some videos don't even need to have a person on camera. I know I've brought this example up a lot, but with clear value tax, so sometimes he does tutorials, explainers, but oftentimes he's been covering news headlines, right? And explaining certain things that are happening in US policy, US taxes. For those, he's on screen in the beginning, then plays a clip of the news, and then explains it. Simple, don't overcomplicate it. Lesson number 13, follow the flow of the talent. So some of you out there may be YouTube editors for other people's channels, and some of them may be for yourself. Always check in with the tone of the video. For lifestyle content where you're sharing really personal stories, you want the video to feel like you're just hanging out and talking to a friend very honestly about something. So you don't need these jump cuts that you need for other videos. And editing should always complement the body language, like, you know, I talk a lot with my hands, the speech rhythm, and also the pacing and energy of the talent. Again, check in with your vibe. And sometimes you really want to keep those natural pauses for emphasis. Like this. All right, lesson number 14, very simple. Check your audio quality. You don't need the best camera, you don't even need the best setting, but what you do absolutely need for YouTube is good audio quality. That's the bare minimum. So here are the most common things that I see with audio quality. It's that sometimes when you're yelling and you talk too loud, or the gain on your mic is too loud, your audio is going to pop and it's gonna hurt people's ears. Or is there a section where your shirt rubs on the mic like this? One time I tried to wear this awesomely cute blazer in a video, but this blazer has like foil in it, so every single time I move my arms because I talk with my hands, you could hear this. Don't do that. And you also want to check that your audio isn't too echoey because there's not enough things in your room. To fix this, throw some pillows down, put some blankets everywhere. It really makes a difference. Good mics are so cheap on Amazon, so just invest in one and make sure to read the reviews. I know most of us are not pro sound engineers, so there are some tools that can actually help you enhance your audio. If you have the Adobe suite, there's the Adobe Podcast Voice Enhancer that you can apply. And there's also tools like Podcastle and Riverside that can enhance your audio quality, turning it from something with like background noise into studio level. Lesson number 15. This one's a bit more advanced, but not really. and it's around using sound effects. Sound effects are a lot more than just a ding or a smash. If you use them correctly, you can manipulate the emotions of the viewer. They can help you shape how a viewer feels, guide their attention, and then enhance your storytelling. But when used incorrectly, they can be a distraction. See how we use sound effects to emphasize that whole section? Sound effects should align with your visuals and your action and not feel delayed or offbeat. So make sure it happens right when the action is happening, just like in film or TV. Now I'm gonna demo a few so you really understand what I'm saying. So a well-placed creak, whisper, or a drone sound can make a scene feel really uneasy. And a silence paired with a subtle ambient effect can build suspense before a reveal. Whooshes, bass hits, or percussion can add energy. A pop, a boing, or a slide or a whistle can add engagement to a graphic or just create some lightness. And a subtle reverb or an echo can add a twinge of nostalgia or dreaminess. I think you get it. And have fun exploring. Now, lesson number 16. This is something that was completely foreign to me before, but now I know, and now you will know. And it's using risers in editing. Let me explain what those are. Risers are audio effects used to build anticipation or tension, like right here. They're really great for gradual sound increases, often leading up to a big reveal or a transition. And you see these often in cinematic trailers. But remember, guys, YouTube is your own show, so might as well edit like it. Number 17 is using stingers in editing. Okay, what is a stinger? A stinger, kind of like how it sounds, are short, sharp audio bits that are used to punctuate a moment. Drum hits, bass booms, or orchestral hits. These are used to emphasize a cut. These are very common in comedy, storytelling, and action. So if you do have a talking head channel kind of like this one, and you're doing a lot of storytelling, it's really helpful to use risers and stingers to accentuate your story. I know that one was a bit more advanced, so you don't need to overdo it. Remember, it still all needs to flow with the viewer and the video format. Lesson number 18 is knowing when to hire a video editor. As you grow, you can't afford to spend hours and hours and hours and hours editing your videos when you should actually be out there creating content. And in fact, at my agency, I used to edit all my own videos, but it was the very first thing that I outsourced because I knew that I wasn't the best at it. I could be using my time to serve more clients and to help them grow instead of just editing the videos. But if you're just starting out, it's actually really important for you to edit your own videos so that you can develop your style, and then you can hire an editor when you have the budget or when you're growing fast so that you can save time. But if you are gonna hire an editor, here are the things that you have to check: that they have edited YouTube videos. Editing for YouTube is way different than editing other types of videos, and they need to send you examples. And there needs to be a very clear line of communication, because I've had clients who've come to us to work with our agency and our editing after working with Fiverr editors that were not responsive, that were really delayed, and honestly just did a really terrible job of editing. And then we just had to re-edit all those videos anyway. So that's a waste of time and money. And also, before you hire an editor, you want to get clear on the feedback process. How many rounds of edits do you get? What platforms are you using to review your videos? We use Frame and love it. And most importantly, they need to understand the types of videos that you want to create, your vision, your vibe, so they can actually do it for you. If you're struggling to grow on YouTube, just know that your editing is only one piece of the puzzle. You need to have a good idea, good packaging, a good story or script, and then good editing. And that's really the full package. But all of those things contribute equally to the performance of your video. And if you want help growing on YouTube, feel free to reach out to me. My email is listed below. You can book a call with me, visit our website, read our testimonials. And whether you want us to help you with your packaging or editing or your scripting or whatever, or you just want to book a coaching call, I'm here for you. We've worked with clients in all different industries, bigger brands, smaller brands, different types of creators, podcasts. But in the end, YouTube functions the same way, and we can help. There are free resources on our website, like our upload checklist, our thumbnail checklist, and we're always adding more free resources and sharing everything that we know about YouTube for free for you guys. No course, no nothing, because there's no point in gatekeeping anything, because the hard part of growing on YouTube is making the video and doing the dang thing. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps, and happy creating. You got this.